You gonna do it intro?
All right, we've started recording.
We're gonna be like in church. Take your time, Pastor.
That's right.
We ain't got nowhere to go. Come on.
No one be watching that clock.
So this week we're talking about leading your team, and Sherry's going to start us off. Go for it.
Yeah. Dang, that was a quick intro.
Yep, I was like,
Go.
All right. So if you're watching this, congratulations, because that means you may want to take the next step in your business. If you're not already there, some of you may already be leaders and may just want some refreshers or some extra tips. But you know, if you're on my team, I invited you to join whether you are a leader or not, just in case you were thinking about it. So let's say you become a leader. Now what do you need to do? Some people jump into leadership really quickly and never really even intended to, because, if you're sharing and you're enjoying and people see it, they may say, oh my gosh, I want to do this. And you never even intended to lead a team. And you're like, where do I go with this? So just to let you know, when someone joins my team, the first thing I do for them, if they directly join with me, the first thing I do for them is try to give them a little welcome basket. Just got to get a little something together for them that says, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for taking this opportunity. It doesn't have to be anything you spend a lot of money on. Usually, 9 times out of 10, because I don't plan life very well, they're showing up at my doorstep for something else, maybe for me to go through things with them, and I haven't even gotten my basket together yet. So that's just kind of life I live. So I'm going through my office, grabbing stuff and putting it in a basket, but it is what it is. Just get them some stuff that says, welcome, things that you have in your office already, maybe like some labels that you've labeled, or I've even put white cardstock in there, basic things, a little notepad that they can, jot notes down, anything like that you have that you can say, welcome to the team, kind of thing. I think we all have extra stuff laying around in our offices. And if you don't, that's okay too. You can grab some things, or you can, I'm sure if you're on any of our teams and you're joining a team and growing our team, that we'll all be willing to kind of help you kind of, brainstorm some things to put together, or even throw some things your way. We all, share stuff amongst each other. So just get with whomever's team you're on, if you have somebody join, and then let them help you with something like that, if that's something they do. The other thing I like to do when somebody joins my team is I like to help them out with the first cent of the month. Because they're just getting started, and I always say, don't spend more money than you're making on Scentsy. So just jumping into a cent of the month right to start off with, or something like that, is kind of hard to do. So when I first get my first cent a month, I'll give them a few bars and a few flyers out of that to help them out. And of course, most of you who have joined under any of us have had a launch party as well. So in the launch party, I like to order from my team, but order something that they can use to sample. Like I always order whiffs, that way when the box comes to them and they're making, their goodie bags or whatever, I usually try to get them to come to me and let me help them with the goodie bags. Now, I understand that some of this may not be possible if you have somebody who's joining in another town or another state or anything like that, but we can all brainstorm and get creative for things like that. But I like to have the whiffs in that box that comes here for me to help them package cute, so we can make little samples for them. And it kind of helps, maybe put their launch party over the edges too. So a welcome basket and things just kind of help them get started up. Just try to kind of help them as you can with that, if you're able. If you're in your first 70 days, you may kind of be in a spot where that might be kind of tight for you too. And like I said, we can all get creative in ways to help, make sure that person has the things to kind of help them get up and running as well. Once that's going, the first 70 days is very, very crucial. So even if they say they're a hobbyist, I still would encourage the first 70-day awards for them. Like, don't just say, okay, well, they're just in for the discount, we're not going to do these things. So make sure they know about the shooting star and the sensational start level 1, 2, and 3, and they should get that in their training, which is very important, because I've seen a direct line of success through my consultants who have completed the training versus those who haven't completed the training, as far as how far they go in this business. So they really need to do that first things first checklist. So really try to encourage them to do that. I'll have people coming back asking me questions and they haven't watched the trainings yet. So, I'll try to point them in that direction as I'm helping them as well. But make sure they know about those awards, because some people who join as a hobbyist may realize, gosh, my first 15 days, I did that 500 and I can get that kit and I can sell some of these things. And geez, I've already hit sensational start level 1. This is easier than I thought. Some people may fall into that pretty quickly and some may not. But if they do, they may kind of catch the fire, and just keep rolling with it. So just always, show them the awards, even if they say they're a hobbyist. With that, if they say they're a hobbyist, you do kind of need to know what they're joining for, so you can kind of know how to tailor, beyond that point. So you originally I say the first 70 days, you do kind of want a handhold. Some people say they don't. I do kind of in that first 70 days handhold a little more than I would outside of that 70 days, because by then they should have the things that they need if you're checking in with them and they're doing the checklist training. So I say check in weekly and then monthly and then as needed. Find out where they want to be with this business to determine how often you do need to check in with them. And if you do a follow-up system of any sort, Maven or Amy, whichever you choose to call it, does a good job of giving you options to remind you to help check in with your teamies as well. However, I find with leading a team that a system works for me for that even better than Maven. I'm just essentially clearing my Maven by the time I get to it, because Tuesdays and Thursdays is my team days. It's team days or training days for me. And so that's my days that I'm gonna go ahead and start checking in with my teamies. So you do want to kind of set aside a time that works for you so that you can make sure that you are checking in with them. The other important thing is, when you're trying to find out kind of where they're gearing this business is, what their why is. So your why will strongly drive you in this business. And I think I've said several times, like, my why has changed over time, and it has strongly changed how I run my business too. So I went from just wanting the discount. I even leave that on my page now, just wanting the discount, to really wanting more out of this business and wanting to grow it and be able to work more independently and not have to work full time. So right now I'm supplementing this with my goal to eventually make it full time. So for reasons, for those of you who know my why, I won't go into that now, but I will share it on the page eventually, because that's part of my homework for a leadership program I'm doing. So do try to find out their why. I do have a girl on my team now, and her why is phenomenal. I mean, the reason like she joined is huge, and it's driving her, and she is, it wakes her up every morning wanting to go for more. And so if you find out kind of, what their why is, or help them develop a why, find out, what made you decide to go into this, it may make a difference in what direction they go with it. So I say, after you've promoted to lead and then promoted to star, that you should definitely start yourself a team page as well, just so you can start kind of getting in the habit of sharing things as your team grows. So start early. Don't wait until you've grown a team of 30 to try to start sharing things on a team page. Just go ahead and start as you're smaller with a star consultant with just a few teamies, and that's going to be the best time to practice, honestly, because you've got people that should be some of your closest people kind of watching you, and you're learning the process. They're learning together, and that gets them in the system of kind of starting to check the page as well. And then hopefully as they grow, they can become some admins on your page and kind of help you out with it. So definitely try to start yourself a team page once you get in there. And you have starry nights to go by as an example. And generally, if you're you already have a leader in a group, most of them already have team pages too. So you can have a couple of different examples to go by for team pages. The other thing is, as you're growing your team, try to build a rapport for them. Don't make it don't just check in with them just about Cincy. Hey, great PRV this week. How's your Cincy going? If you know something else is going on with their life, your Tuesday, like my Tuesday, Thursday doesn't necessarily have to be about checking in on what they're doing with Cincy. It could be about something else that's going on in their life that may be diverting them somewhere else, and I know that I appreciate, like, when Sarah just, notices something else is going on with me, and it's nothing Cincy talk that she goes on about. It's something else, it's not just, they know that you're not just there just to have them as a business partner. They become friends too, which is a cool thing about this business. Like, I think a lot of us joke a lot of times and say we don't even like people, but then we grow these relationships that we never even saw coming, so make sure you try to establish a rapport with your teamies as you start growing a team. And then most importantly, lead by example. Okay, so if you're wanting them to to grow a team and do things as well. Make sure you're doing the things that you need to do, because if you're kind of slacking, and there's going to be times we do, let's face it, life happens, right? But if you're kind of slacking on your end, and you're not putting in PRV, you're not doing anything, you're not putting anything on a team page, or anything like that, they're going to notice. And sometimes that's going to kind of dwindle their motivation too. Not that we're here to keep their motivation going, but it kind of helps, when you're in an office and you're working with a good group of people and everybody's on fire, it kind of helps you keep your fire as well. So make sure you lead by example. And part of that is important anyway, because in order for you to lead a team, you've got to be able to keep your PRV at a certain amount anyway, because, and people say, we're multi-level marketing or whatever. I like to say we're direct sales with a multi-level marketing approach, because we have to work just as hard as the next person in order to be able to get the bonuses and stuff. It's not like it's just going to occur. So you've got to get in your 500 PRV in order, to be paid at title for your team. So make sure you're trying to get that stuff in if you're encouraging other people to do that. Monkey see, monkey do, since my picture was a monkey a while ago. So, and then that leads to, when you're talking about paid at title and stuff, it leads to reports and compensation, but I'm gonna leave all that fun stuff to Sarah at the end. So, and that's all I've got, kind of. So, simple in a nutshell. I'm gonna pass it on to the next person.
All right, awesome. That was really, really good. Judith is gonna head it up next.
Okay, so I do have a lot of notes. I'm sorry, you guys, but I actually kind of took this one kind of personal. So that's why, I came up with some notes, and then I think it was 2 days later, I texted Sarah and I said, I have more. I'm sorry, but this is going to take a while. So I'm going to try to be as quick as I can, but I feel like there are some really good nuggets in what I have written down. So leading your team, if you decide to be a leader, that is awesome. Like Sherry said, sometimes it comes quick, and sometimes it comes when you're ready or not ready. Either way, it's going to come, and hopefully it's when you are ready to go. But let's look on the positive side. Let's say you are ready to go. You are ready to lead your team. You are head on. You're like, I'm going to take on this challenge. One of the biggest things that you have to do is be consistent. Now, being consistent does not mean that you have to work their business for them. I agree with Sherry being there for them the first 70 days, but this does not mean that you have to, once they've been there for 2 years, that you're still holding their hand, where they're messaging you at 2 a.m, hey, how much does a scent circle cost? We don't do that, because that has happened to me, but we do not do that. You should know how much a scent circle is. So be consistent with your team, be able to always post on there. And I don't mean overpost, because I have been there too, where I have overposted and I've gotten crickets on my team page. So just be consistent. That doesn't mean go ghost for 3 months and then come back a day later and expect for your team to be responding to you. That's not good leadership skills. Share. Please never withhold information from your team on things that you know. I know sometimes we tend to find out a cool app, or we tend to find a cool way to get more PRV, and we want to keep it to ourselves. We kind of want to be selfish, and we're like, oh, I just found a new technique. Share. Sharing is caring. Not only will that help your team, especially because now something that will work for you, you will also get your team involved, and your team will grow, and they will be more confident in what they do. One of the things that you can do as a leader also is identify your leaders. How do you do that? So one of your ways that you can identify your leaders is who shows up, who is sponsoring, who has good PRV. And even if they don't have all of those, because we all go through hiccups, where we can't sponsor yet, or our PRV sucks that month, which is fine. Who is working? Because there's a difference between having a crappy month and not working, because you can still be working and have a crappy month. Are you working it, or are you not? And I mean that because I've been there. Literally everything I tell you is because I've been there. I self-sabotage. I know what I am doing is wrong, and I'm still like, you know what? It's fine. I'll just watch another hour of TikTok when I could be doing something else. And I know what I'm doing is wrong, and I know I could have used that hour to talk to somebody who just joined, or somebody to join my team, but instead I'm on TikTok. So I have an open door policy that consultants can always come to me when they are ready. Meaning, if they decide to be a hobbyist, that's okay. And I always let them know, just let me know when you are ready. I am here for you. that doesn't mean that I'm going to be at their beck and call. If they message me, fine. If not, that's fine. If they change their mind, perfect. I am on board. But I'm not going to be harassing them every month, asking them, hey, are you ready to take it on? Are you ready to, start leading? Are you ready to start selling? Nope. I just let them do their thing. Leading your team, one of the biggest things that I have struggled with is putting myself first. And it wasn't until this year that I finally came to terms with that. It is important to work your business first. As much as I want to help everybody else, if I do not work my business, I won't get paid. So my first 15 days, I worked strictly on my business. I tried to reach my 500, which yes, is the minimum. So I'm trying to bump that up to come the 15th. I am at least at 1,500. So every leader's different. Some of them do 2,000, which I want to be there eventually, but that is just me. So my first 15 days, I work on my business. And then on the second half is when I work with my team. And that is something that you should also keep in mind. So when you want to book your calls with your people, that is the perfect time to do them after the 15 days. And then the last thing on leading your team is teaching them to fish. We want to build leaders. We want to teach them how to fish. I don't want to take you out on a boat ride and be like, hey, let me catch all the fish for you and then feed you. And then when I leave you on your own, you don't even know how to fish. You don't know how to feed yourself. And now you're there hungry and you're lost and confused. I have to say, we are very lucky that Sarah's our director or star director now, because I have heard horror stories of people who join under somebody and that's it. They don't hear anything else from them. So I think, especially because me and Sarah, I think I joined like 3 months after Sarah did. And I always joke with her that it was blind leading the blind, because I would text her and I would ask her questions and she would be like, let me find out. She never told me, I don't know. She would always be like, let me find out. And then she would text me and give me the answer. So she taught me to fish. There's sometimes that I still come to her and I'm like, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm surprised she hasn't been like delete, block, and all that. Sometimes I'm waiting for her to tell me, you know what to do, and then kick me out the nest. I'm waiting for that to happen. But, I feel like we are very lucky with Sarah that she has done all of this for us. She has taught us to fish. And at the same time, she has done what Sherry has said. She has held our hand the first 70 days. Mind you, I've been in for like 6 years. So she's been holding my hand for 6 years. Feels like it. So one of the biggest things that I do have to say, though, is that we all have the same tools and resources. And that's not being mean, but yes, it's great to have somebody showing you the ropes. It's amazing because, they're showing you what they know. And it's amazing to have them show you that. But at the same time, we all have the same resources. We all have a workstation. All the training videos are on there. All the videos are in YouTube. All it takes is for you to type it in. And I don't mean that in a mean way, because I've been in a hunch. I've been in a bad position sometimes. And then I'm like, you know what? Superstar directors have, honestly, I feel like we have more resources than a lot of other people do. I met one girl at family reunion. This was back in 2018. She's still my friend on Facebook. And I ended up asking her, hey, what do you do for your trainings? And she said, what? I said, what do you do for your trainings on your people? Like, can I join your Sensi group page and then get some feedback and I can be like one of your leaders on there? And she's a star consultant, and she doesn't even have a team page. So let me just say we are very lucky. One of the quotes that I want to leave you with that, and then I'm going to go with the next thing, is inspired people inspire people. And the people who are my group right now, which are literally the ladies that are on here, is who I get my inspiration from. Because you have to be your own cheerleader sometimes at the end of the day, but these girls have been there every single day, pushing and motivating us. Because there's some days that one of us will have like a bad moment and they would be like, okay, you complained, you rant, you cried about it, let's go. What's our plan? What are we gonna do? So surround yourself with leaders also who are positive and who are going to inspire you. There are many types of leaders. I'm going to go through them really quick, but the last one is the best type of leader to be. So number one, and there's only 6, I'll be quick, I promise. So number one, there's unpredictable leaders and they produce hesitant followers. There's no consistency with their team. Unpredictable leaders are like the ones that I just said. They're inconsistent. They are ghosting you for like 3 months, and then they come back after a day and they're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is our plan. We're going to knock it out of the park. And then the next day they're like, you know what? Let's try this instead. They're not consistent. When you are like that, people are not going to follow you. I know, because I've been there. Number 2, domineering leaders. They produce compliant followers. They do what they say. They create weak teams with no commitment, meaning they are yes people. You tell them, hey, we're going to do this. And they're like, okay, that's fine. And then the next week you're like, hey, we're going to do that. And they're going to be like, okay, that's fine. They're just going to follow you. But at the end of the day, there's no commitment to it. They're secretive leaders. And this is what I said, don't do. They produce guarded followers. They're showing them that you are showing them that you don't trust them, that they aren't good enough. We need to be honest, vulnerable, and have clear communication, meaning that you hide things from them. You find a new technique on how to get PRV. You find a new way to party. You find a new way to sponsor. And instead of you sharing with your team so that they can put those skills to use too, you are keeping it to yourself. You are being selfish. And all that's going to do is going to make your people not trust you at all. They're going to be like, okay, I'm just going to use Sherry as an example because she's right below my box and I see her right there. You know, if Sherry's like, hey, you know what? I just found a new way to collect PRV, but I'm not going to tell them. And then I'm just like, why is Sherry being secretive? Like, why is she not sharing with me? I'm not going to trust you. And then you come to me, no, I don't trust you. I'm going to go with somebody else. You know what? I'm going to go sell some ugly ass nail polishes because I don't want to do Scentsy no more. I don't trust you. So number 4, passive leaders. They produce disengaged followers. They know what issues arise, but they don't acknowledge the issues. When a leader does not address a problem, the problem is no longer the problem. The leader is. Acknowledge the problem, do something. That means having a team page where there's always drama, bickering, stuff going around. We don't do that. And that is one thing, amazing thing about Starry Nights, that we are quick to shut that down. Well, the other leaders are. They are quick at shutting that down. And you do not want that negative energy on your page because trust me, it spreads like wildfire. Once one person goes negative, everybody wants to go negative. We don't do that. 5, healthy leaders. Healthy leaders listen, has a vision, has direction, brings value, collaborates, asks for opinions, cares. Healthy leaders, and listen to this, healthy leaders produce faithful followers. We don't want followers though, right? Now, what we want to do is be number 6. We want to be empowering leaders because empowering leaders produce great leaders. And that's what we want. We don't want followers. We want leaders. We do everything that a healthy leader does. An empowering leader gives responsibility to others, which is what Sarah has done. And I don't know about you guys, but hello, the people who have showed up, she has produced some amazing leaders. She really has. And I know sometimes we kick ourselves because we're like, we're not good enough. And trust me, we all get that. Shoot, I just had that like 3 days ago. I was like, what am I doing? And then I was like, okay, I'm doing pretty well. Okay, I'm out of it. I just want to blame it probably on like womanhood that kicked in. Aunt Flo. We'll blame Aunt Flo, even though she's not here, you know, that I was doubting myself. So I want to say that Sarah is an empowering leader because she has produced great leaders. She has not produced faithful followers. She has produced great leaders. They do everything that a healthy leader does. Empowering leaders give responsibility to others, which she has too. Lead yourself first above all. Work on your habits, then lead your leaders. If you have not worked on your habits, you might not be there just yet, because that's something I still struggle on. But I have done step 1, consistency, which is the biggest thing to do. 2 quotes, and then I'm going to pass it on to the next person. Successful people do consistently what normal people do occasionally. And you don't have to know it all to be a great leader. Thank you.
Shoo, that was good. Y'all are killing me. This is amazing.
Face is
I'm gonna let
red.
Tanya, I have him speechless. I'm letting
I was
Tanya.
getting mad. I'm
Oh,
sorry. My face is red.
No, I love it. Gosh, y'all are blowing me away. All right, Tanya.
Not ready. I always get more and more nervous when it's my turn. I'm over here like shaking. Anyway, it is what it is. Here we go. I'm going to follow my notes. I got them over here. If you see me looking away, I'm not ignoring you. Okay, so my first thing is, what is a leader? Because everybody kind of has a different definition of what a leader is. And that's okay, because we're not all going to lead the exact same way, right? But Merriam-Webster defines leader as a guide or conductor, a person who has a commanding authority or influence. So leaders are not always born. Sometimes you have to train yourself to be a leader. You don't always know exactly what you're doing. Most of us don't, and that's okay. A true leader is always learning, though, because if you think you already know everything, you're unteachable. And if you're unteachable, then you're not going to be able to grow as a person or as a leader. Somebody just joined, Anna. So if you're unteachable, you can't grow, and therefore you're not going to be able to teach anybody else. You as a leader is what you have to figure out, is what kind of leader you're going to be. So are you leading by example? Think about that. As a leader, you should always push yourself to have your 500 PRV, because that's leadership numbers you have to have if you're going to grow a team, by the 15th at the latest. And I say that because when you're first starting to build a team, you may not be that person that can get to 1,000 or 2,000 a month or 1,500. Maybe you're still getting there. But if you can strive to get to that 500 by the 15th, that's halfway through the month, then the rest of the month, like Judith said, you can spend working on your team and pouring into them. I personally try my best to have my 500 by the 10th or the 5th. It doesn't always happen. Right now, I still don't have my 500. I'm struggling, but I got a party this week. I got a bingo this weekend and a party next week, and that flash sale's coming, so I'm pushing. But once you have that, then you can work with your team. Now, how can you tell them to do something if you're not doing it, right? So if you ask your team to do something, you better be doing it too. Don't you dare challenge them to sell 2 air purifiers this month if you're not going to do it too. That doesn't mean you're necessarily going to sell both, because you may not, but you better be trying, because if not, why are you asking them? John C. Maxwell said, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. So if you're not doing it, why are they going to do it? They're watching you. And if you're like, okay, I challenge you to sell 2 air purifiers this month, but I'm going to sit back and watch you do it. I hope y'all do it. I'm cheering you on. They're not doing that. They're watching your page to see if you're trying to share and sell those air purifiers too. Because if you're not, they're going to be like, nope, I'm out. They're not going to do it. So you have to be willing to put that work in right alongside them. You cannot sit back and expect to collect a paycheck off of your team, since he won't let you anyway, so it doesn't matter. So you're not their boss. You are their leader. You're not telling them what to do. You're showing them. I mean, yes, you're telling them some things because they need to know, but you're not like standing over them. Hey, are you doing this? I'm watching you. You're leading them. Okay. So don't tell them, show them. Don't push them, guide them. Don't reprimand them, teach them. Love them, recognize their actions. What gets rewarded gets repeated. I've heard that time and time again since I've joined Cincy, and it's true. If you reward the behaviors that they're doing, they'll keep doing it because they realize that you're acknowledging what they're doing. Okay. So new consultants, they're going to need more help. Sherry touched on this, so I won't go into a whole lot, but be there for them. You know, you need to help them and lead them and show them, especially in those first 70 days, like she said, like, how are you training them? Are you telling them, every single consultant that joined your team, that signs up under you, are you letting them know about Shooting Star, Sensational Start, how to book parties, how to enter those parties, you know, how to get one started? Yes, it's on their checklist, but some people learn better when someone's helping them. Okay. Talk to them about the compensation plan. Explain how incentives work, because it seems like we're always in incentives now, right? There's never a break. So make sure they know how to reach you, but also the chain of command. People need to know. First thing you need to do is you need to check your workstation. If you still can't find it, then you go to the team page and see if you can find it in there. And if not, you can ask there. And then you can come to me or to your director or whoever. because you don't want them to always come to you first. You want them to learn how to find the information. So you need to ask them the way that they learn best, because not everybody is going to learn the same way. And that's going to help you, because you can't keep giving the same things to somebody and they're not learning it because you didn't ask which way they learn better. Some people want to read it, look at it, learn it. Some people are like, I need you to show me. Some people are like, you watch me as I do it and make sure I'm doing it right. You need to ask. Bill Bradley said, leadership is unlocking people's potential to become better. And that's what you're doing. You're teaching them so that they can become better and learn how to be a leader like you. Okay. You can't help them be better if you insist on teaching them your way. You have to teach them in a way that they're going to learn. So when you train your new team members, you're not just training them on how to be a consultant, you're training them on how to train their people when they join. So you're leading them so that they learn what to do when people join their team, right? New consultants do need more help. Do not toss them overboard and expect them to swim. I mean, even some seasoned consultants need a life raft sometimes, right? We all do. It happens. We all go through things. So don't ever think that someone does not need your help just because they don't reach out to you. Sometimes people want you to acknowledge that you see that they're struggling. Because sometimes, like Kimmy or Sarah will message me, but hey, you've been quiet for a couple of days. Are you good? Like, what's going on? You need to pay attention. You can tell when someone's being different, okay? Consistency, as they said, is a very big part of leadership. So even when you don't feel like doing it, you got to do it. Even if people are not responding in your team page, they're not responding to your messages, keep doing it anyway. Because if you skip it one day, then the next day it's a little bit easier. And the next day and the next day it gets easier and easier. And then next thing you know, it's been 2 weeks. You haven't posted, you haven't reached out, you haven't went live, you haven't done anything. And then they check out because you've stopped, they're gone. Excuse me. John Welch said, before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is about growing others. And that is true, because when you first join Cincy, you don't have a team. You're just kind of learning and you're just working and doing the things for yourself. And then somebody joins your team, whether you are ready or not, then you're all about helping them. But remember to take care of yourself at the same time. Leadership's about the people, so make it about them. Don't look at how something's going to benefit you. Look at how it's going to benefit them and what it's going to do for them. If you're only sponsoring to make more money, then you're sponsoring for the wrong reason. Money's great, but you need to invest in the people, okay? They're not going to feel valued and they're not going to stick around if the only time you're checking in with them is at the end of the month to see if you're going to hit numbers so you can get paid at title. They're not going to stick around. Have a team page. Once you have a few team members, you need to have a team page. And you may not be ready for it, and that's okay. But when you have, I would say if you have at least 5 teamies, you need to have a team page, because you need to develop the culture and the group that you want for your team, okay? Make sure you're reaching out to everybody on your team. They don't have to just be your front line, because sometimes their sponsor may not want to be a leader and they just signed up under them, okay? So somebody needs to be reaching out to those people. Encourage people in your team to share on the team page and make some of them admins. That's what you need to do, okay? So do you reach out to your people on your team? Because if not, you need to. Have coaching calls, send text messages, emails, whatever their preference is. Remember, it's about them. Maybe they don't like getting emails. And if they're like me, they don't want to talk on the telephone, you better send me a text message, because I'm not answering that telephone. I'm not going to do it. Now, if Kimmy calls me, I'll answer. But most people know if you call me, I'm not answering that phone. You leave me a message, I might call you back, probably not. If you text me though, I'll respond. So figure out what they want, okay? Try to make sure I ain't skipping anything on my notes. I'm trying to hurry up. Woo. Remember that when life gets hard, it's okay to take a day or two. It is okay to step back and deal with whatever it is that you've got going on. Just don't stay in that place and lose everything. Do not make long-term decisions based on temporary feelings. That's the biggest thing that you can do. Do not. Because if you make a decision right now based on how you're feeling that affects you 2 years from now, that was the wrong time to make the decision. Do not make it on temporary feeling. Final thought, Rosalind Carter said, a leader takes people where they want to go. Wait, a leader takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't necessarily want to go, but ought to be. So see the potential in your people, invest in them, and unlock that potential. They don't always see it in themselves, but you can, and you can show them. I'm done.
Mic drop. That was so good. All right, Kimmy is next, and then me, and y'all are just like, I'm still speechless. Okay, Kimmy.
Oh, sorry, I had to figure out how to unmute. I am like challenged when it comes to this phone. So, wow, where do I start? So many nuggets. And I started taking notes on the laptop, and then it's like, I can't take notes because I'm paying attention. So I guess I'm going to have to come back and watch the replay. Everyone has touched on something. So I guess to me, I'm going to drill it down. There's a difference between a leader and a manager. And I think a lot of times as we start building teams, we start thinking, oh my gosh, I've got all these people I'm responsible for. I got to make sure I'm telling them what to do. I got to make sure they're hitting their numbers. No, a leader's inspiring people to do their best and to be their best self. A manager's only worried about numbers. You got to hit this. You got to hit this. You didn't hit this. Why didn't you hit this? No, there's a difference. You're not a manager. You're a leader. A leader means you're present for your team. And you can be present even when you're not present. People watch you. So they're watching what you're doing. They're watching how you're responding to stuff. They're watching how you present things. So be present for them. Set some healthy boundaries for your time. Be available for things outside of Cincy. I've got a teamie right now who almost lost her sister last week to a sepsis infection, right? She messaged me to tell me. I didn't message her. She messaged me. So if you're there and you're present and they know, they're going to share with you what's going on. That's not a time for me to message her back and say, okay, great. I'm sorry your sister's in the hospital dying. Where's your 500? Or where's your sales at for the month? You're not active. Guys, that's not what we're here for. Let me share a little story of something that happened to me years ago, and it really knocked me down a few notches. I had a team in a call center of 15 select individuals who were choice picks that were listening to calls. And I was joking one day with one of the guys, and he said something about not hitting his numbers. And I jokingly said to him, I don't really care if you think you can't do it. Build a bridge and get over it. You're going to hit that number or else. And he laughed about it. We were joking, but somebody else heard that. And the young lady that heard that didn't take the joke that way. She took it as, oh my gosh, if I don't hit the number, I can't be here. I don't want to be here. This isn't an environment for me. So when you're saying and doing things and you're joking, it's okay to joke and have fun. Just make sure that the perception that you're giving is that you're supporting and that you are there for them. Because when it came back that I didn't want to help her, I did want to help her. I didn't know. So people watch you. That's what, a manager saying you're going to hit that number. And that's what I was doing. You're going to hit that number. I don't really care how you do it. You're going to hit it. A leader would have said, hey, I understand you got some obstacles. Let's see how we can work around them. So there's a big difference there. You're going to have folks that are career oriented, that want to grow in this business. Their goal when they join at $25, $99, $49, whatever they join at, their goal is to go from essential to superstar director in 6 months. And they might do that. But you might also have that person who pays $99 for their kit and only gets it to get their own kickback when they get their commission check the following month. And maybe they never share that. And those people are just as important. We call them hobbyists. I hate that word. I started that way. I didn't call myself a hobbyist. I called myself frugal because I was couponing and saving money. We were a one-income household. So that changes for those people at some point, and some it may never change for. But those people are just as equally important as that teamie who's plugging in 2,000 PRV a month for you, or the person who's building that team and hitting the different titles. Everyone's equally important, because the person who's just hitting 200 once every 3 months might be the difference between paid at title, staying on the consultant locator, maybe helping you, reach a goal that you didn't have. Maybe they're that $200 in PRV is the difference between you hitting, getting them active might be an incentive that maybe is a requirement is having them active. We've had incentives they just needed to be active. So that person who says, hey, I just joined for the discount, they're just as equally important. You also kind of need to know how to find things. You don't need to know the answer. Someone said it earlier, I believe it was Judith. You don't have to know everything to be a leader. What you do have to know is how to find it. I heard her say that Sarah never said, I don't know, but she always said, let me find out. I was once told it's okay to say, I don't know the answer to that. However, we can find that out and work together to find those answers. As a leader, you should know how to use your workstation. And if you don't, you should be in there doing drills and playing around and pushing buttons and figuring it out. Reports are good to know how to use. You need to know how to use those. There's trainings on that. Your sponsor can show you how to use those. And if not, their sponsor can. The marketing tab, the news tab. And I guess my end of thing is everyone has a different leadership style. Find yours. Find your style. If you are a nurturing person and that's your style by nature is to nurture and hold someone's hand and help them as much as you can, don't change your style just because that's what someone who's successful or appears to be successful is doing. Those different types of leaders that Judith talked about, maybe they're that person that doesn't have someone who's just following short term. They're not building a leader. Be you and be who you are. Don't change yourself just to fit someone else's needs. Also, don't be afraid to tailor your style to meet the needs of your team. Maybe you have teamies that need nurturing, and then maybe you have teamies that need to just be told, go find it yourself. Everyone's different. So just find your style and be true to yourself. And that's all I got.
That was so good. Thank you, Kimmy. Gosh. All right. Well, I'm going to bring it home, y'all, but I don't think I'm going to bring it home at the rate that y'all gave it out. I don't think anything that I have to say hasn't already been touched on a little bit before. So I'm going to give you my perspective and I'm not going to keep you much longer. So y'all can get on with your nights. But this was so great, y'all. That's all I can say. I thank you all so much. This has been amazing. So the first note I had was aim to empower and engage all your team members. Kimmy just touched on this pretty much. I heard a really good quote recently. She said, I'm here for you and your reasons, not mine. So if your goal with this business is to make $200 a month to pay one of your bills and get your nails done every month, then that is great for me too. Just like Kimmy just said, that might be the difference in an active team member or not. And, it's important, and I know nobody here does this, but it's important to not belittle anyone's goals or make them feel like they're not enough because they're not doing what you're doing. I mean, everybody just literally said this, but it's so true. When I shout out, like I'm constantly trying to think about, am I making people not want to interact on the team page, stuff like that, when I shout out top PRV and things like that, because some people are like, well, I got my 200 PRV and that's exactly what I wanted to do this month. And that was important to me. That's never, that's never the goal. I never want to make anybody feel like you need to be doing the 2,500 if that's not what you want to do right now. I just have to recognize those things because those are great accomplishments. So, and then identify who to work with, just like Judith was talking about. And it doesn't always have to be your front line, just like several of y'all already said. And how I do it is who is showing up, who's hungry for knowledge, who is, it's not always who has their 500 in when I work with people and talk to people. It's who I see consistently doing the things that I'm suggesting or the things that they came up with and they're actually putting into place. Or really just, you can just see the hunger and they're just, they're not just there to leech and to just kind of ride the wave. Sherry touched on this. I always say to encourage team members to identify their why and to constantly develop it. It's definitely going to always change and grow, and having a why that contains emotional connection will help you with the resilience you need when things are not going great. So Sherry and I are doing that accelerated leadership with Jason Harwood. And he just had an example in this week's thing about his why. And it kind of makes you think about it, because he was like, so yeah, like his why is like to be able to take vacations with his children and his family. But then why? Like, what about that is meaningful? So he's on a roller coaster with his daughter. And, he said he wants her to remember that moment after he's long gone. And I was like, whoa, it kind of made me teary. And he worded it way better. But it's not just about like, hey, I want to make more money. It's like, why do you want to make more money? Like, what is your goal with that? What is like emotionally, going to change for you? Like, what do you want to do with that? Like I always say, my why at first, like Sherry said, it always changes. I wanted to retire my parents. But what does that mean? Like, why do you want to do that? So I want to spend more time, spend more time with them. I want to travel the world. I want to not have to ask for time off, from a job that, may or may not appreciate you. I want to be able just to go and, and why? And then you just kind of go deeper and deeper with that. And when that, doesn't feel like enough, or it's not engaging to you, then maybe that's not your why anymore. So I said, next, give yourself grace. So it's okay not to be okay. We always say that. It's not okay to stay there. So I think that's important to remember for everybody, like across the board, whether you have a team or not. Just like you're there for your team members when they're ready to pick their kit back up, you should be there for yourself when you're ready to pick your kit back up. So if you feel like you've totally screwed up lately or ever, and things just haven't been, you haven't lived up to your own standards, it's okay. Like, you can start over. And I lost my place. Oh, you can't pour from an empty cup. We all talk about that, like taking care of yourself. You have to have boundaries, like business hours. I'm preaching to myself a lot of times when I write things like this. It took me a long time, I think, to not answer people in the middle of the night and things like that, because you're like, oh, it might be something they really need me or whatever. But we come to find out there are no Scentsy emergencies. Like, it will be okay tomorrow. And so next, I wanted to kind of debunk myths about leadership. So when I first started, I probably had no idea about annual sales, annual mentor. And I think that, people kind of come in thinking only the higher ups can earn things like that. And only the higher ups can earn trips. And that's not true. Like, in some cases, depending on how they do the incentive trips, it's sometimes easier for people who haven't promoted to SSD to earn those points from promoting and things like that. So you just have to think about it like that. Like, you are always just as important as the top of the company. The highest salesperson, highest PRV from 2021 is the same as you. And I think it's important to really know where you're at with these goals. So, with like annual sales, I was going to walk you guys through how to run it. And annual mentor, there's actually a new feature in Workstation. I just realized the other day that if you go to, I wrote down how to get there so I don't have to screen share. If you go to reports and view my performance and go to the bottom, there's an annual mentor tab now, and you can actually see where you're at. And they have checks by everybody who's qualified. So everybody who has certified, you have to get, I'm going blank, is it 14? 14, yeah. 14 people that you personally sponsor that aren't reinstatements that promote to certified within the May 1st through April 30th deadline. So it will tell you now, instead of having to go back, because that was the hardest thing to figure out, right? Like, you could see who you sponsor, be like, did they get certified? Did they get certified? I don't know. I have to figure it out. So now you can actually pull that very easily and see it. And now it makes it so much easier. I was like, yes. But so annual sales is not that hard to pull either. And I think that that's something you should be keeping up for yourself and your team all year. Like, I constantly check it every month, just because it's just something that excites me. Like, I want to see how close, like right now, Sherry is $25,996.02 towards her 30,000. I know she won't care if I shout her out, because she's literally going to get it, because that's $4,000 away, and she can do that in her sleep. She's like PRV monster. So I pull it probably more than once a month, just because it's something that's part of my, like, I guess on my team days, that's like one of the things I always do. So I have something to talk to her about. I'm like, hey, this is like amazing. Like, you want to tell people how close they are, because that can light a fire sometimes. Because things like that aren't, make it or break it. Like, if we didn't earn it this year, that's fine. Probably not in the cards for me to earn annual mentor this year, and I'm okay with that. But I won't say I won't. I mean, maybe next month I'll just like be in a sponsoring frenzy. I don't know. But I won't be upset if I don't. But, I think like now, especially with that, it'll be a lot easier to maybe stay on track, in my opinion, anyway. So educating them and rooting them on, I think, is really important from day one with all these things. Like Sherry said, like a lot of y'all said, definitely push them towards the 70-day goals, whether or not they come in thinking that it's just going to be a side gig for them. Because a lot of people change that. We all know that. Shout outs and recognition can be free. We all know that, because you can shout people out on your team page, email them, go on their Facebook page and give them a pretty little shout out with a picture of them. Everyone has a love language, and a lot of people like to be recognized for their hard work. So, and it feels good to you. Like it fills your cup when you shout people out. It does me anyway. Like, it makes me feel good. Like, it's a very simple thing you can do. It takes 5 minutes, and you're like, I feel accomplished, and I feel like I just lifted somebody up a little bit. Like, out of those 10 people you shout out, at least one person got some out of it, I guarantee. I do mail outs. I don't know that I always will, but for me, that's still what's working. Like, I kind of had my own little rut in the last probably 6 months. I think there was a couple months where I fell off, and I was thinking, this is not, I don't know that for sure this is effective, or this is like, I don't want to say worth the efforts, because it didn't take me that long, but I don't know if this is where I want to do, like where I want to be with this. And then one month I didn't send anything, and somebody in our overall group who's not on our team messaged me. She's like, what number was I last month? I didn't get a card. And I was like, oh snap. Okay. Well, maybe it does matter. So do it for the one, right? Do it for the one person. Or like, not saying that people don't appreciate it. Just like, sometimes you don't know. You're like, maybe I could, twist my focus to something else. It's going to be like so much more effective for more people. But that was kind of the moment where I was like, okay, I'm gonna stick with this. So, and like Kimmy just said, leadership looks different for everybody. In my opinion, being different than the rest is not a bad thing. It's an amazing thing. We have all these resources and all these trainings from others for inspiration. It does not mean we have to do the same thing. And it doesn't mean that your flame needs to go out because you're not thinking you're good enough, or you're not thinking you're doing the same things as other people. It's exactly the opposite. I think leadership is a journey, not a destination. We should always be developing. We should always be like watching trainings from other people. Our little accountability group has been like amazing for me. I think for everybody. We should, listen to podcasts, read books, whatever your thing is. It doesn't have to be what somebody says you have to read. I forgot the book we just read not long ago, but a lot of people didn't do it. And I was like, not offended, because not everybody likes to read, and not everybody's going to do that. But I always say, find your thing, find your people, find your accountability group, find your person. And that's pretty much it. There's so much more on reports that I could do a whole nother training on reports sometime. So if anybody wants to, and there are lots of other ones too, lots of other ones out there. Justin does really good with reporting. So if anybody wants to watch their reports training, I think that's it. I rambled on enough. And look, it's 9 o'clock.
Real quick, I want to say this. When you're talking about shouting people out, and you always feel like, what else can I do besides shouting out the top people? One thing I did a few months ago that people really liked was, in my team page, instead of just saying, here's our top 5 or our top 10, I said, here's our top 5 certified consultants. Here's our top 5 lead consultants, our top 5, whatever. I broke it down by category. So then everybody, no matter what stage they were, got some kind of shout out. And really, like when it was essential and certified, some of those people in the top 5 might not have even had but 50 PRV at that particular moment, but they still got a shout out. I broke
Yeah.
it down by what title they were, because different titles are going to perform at different levels. Because if you think about it, a superstar consultant is probably going to have a much larger team than a lead consultant, or a certified consultant may not have any
Right.
yet. So I broke it down like that, and people really like that. That was good.
I did love that. I saw that on your page, and I actually made a note to try that out, because that is like, that gives, you know, everybody room to get recognized. That's a really good idea.
And I'll say this too. I know we all kept saying, you know, this person said this already and this person said this. It should tell you something when we're all talking about the exact same things. Then that's because those are the things that we need to be doing.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah, I think there's almost like we almost all said the same thing in different ways. And I think
because we're all different types of leaders.
Yes, we're all like, we all have different perspectives and different ways of presenting things to our teams and stuff. So this was great. Does anybody have any questions or anything else to add? I always talk really fast at the end. I'm like, no, gotta go.
Brooke, I'm gonna put you on the spot since you're up here. Go on and ask your question. Let's bounce some ideas off the leaders on this page.
All right. So I have my first meeting with a potential new consultant on Monday. And I know I like to word vomit a lot. So I was trying to like be concise about what I want to talk about. And Sherry was saying just to, you know, like make sure to start with like her questions, but I was just wondering if anybody else had any input so that I can make this first meeting with a potential consultant successful or anything.
I'm sorry, my husband walked in and so I didn't hear the first part. Did you say this was somebody that's thinking about joining?
Yeah.
So I would agree with Sherry. Like if I'm talking to somebody about joining, I'll give them like basic information, like, okay, it costs this much to join. Like I might tell them the different kits and you have to put in 200 in 1 month out of 12 just to remain active. And then I might tell them 1 or 2 little things and then I stop and I let them ask questions, because if not, and you like try to tell them everything, you have so much coming, it'll scare them. So
Yeah.
I found if you let them ask a question and then you answer it and then they'll have another question, and it's a little bit easier because you don't feel like you're bombarding them with all this information. And that's just me. Like I like to let them ask questions because some people are going to want to know, how much can I get paid? How much do I have to put in? And that's all they want to know. Right. Some people want to know, how much am I going to get paid? How do I get paid? How often do I get paid? What do I need to do? Do I have to keep stuff in stock? Do I need to do that? It really depends on the person. So if you let them ask questions, number one, you're not going to scare them away. And number two, you're going to already have kind of an idea of whether they're going to be somebody that's really in it or somebody that just wants to kind of earn a little extra cash, or somebody that just may like be like, oh, I'll see you when I get there. It'll kind of help you gauge where they're at too. Okay, I'm done. I'm going to talk to you.
That was good. That's perfect. Yeah, I agree.
I can add to that is what Tani said, everything yes, because that's what I do also. Because one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people do is they will send a long ass message. And I'll be honest with you, if you ever text me a long ass message,
I ain't reading it.
I'll look at it and okay. And I say that because I get a lot of consultants through other companies. Like, for example, I just asked one girl about this shampoo that this company, I don't even know the company's name. She sent me this long ass message. I opened it on my notifications bar and then I swiped it. I didn't even read it. She could have told me that shampoo was made out of babies. I don't care. I really don't. I just swiped it. I'm not going to read all of that. But if she decides to join your team, first of all, that is amazing. One thing I can say though is if she joins your team, what I do with my people is I make sure they do their first.
Judith, it's not if, it's when she joins her team.
I'm sorry, my bad. I've had a whole bottle of wine. Okay. So when she joins your team, what I do with my people is I make them do their first things first checklist. The reason why is because if they don't, they can't earn shit. They can't earn stuff. They really can't. I learned that the hard way with 2 of my people. They can't earn their 15-day shooting star. Literally, if they reach that goal, they won't get it. Sensi will be like, that's one of the steps they have to do to reach it. And then they can't get their 70 days. So if they hit shooting sensational start, they won't get any of those. So make sure they do the first things first checklist before you have a meeting with them face to face, because a lot of the questions that they're going to have is going to be answered right there. And that way you don't waste your time repeating yourself over something. I answer stuff that they did not understand, if that makes sense. Like if they didn't understand what shooting star was, I'll go in depth about what that was. I'm not going to literally train them on what they just read, because it's a waste of your time when you could be training 2 other people when they joined your team. Just saying. Wish you was your team, but you're doing great.
Keep in mind too that there are some things on that first things first checklist that they may not complete before you have a meeting with them, because I think one of them is like closing a party or something like that. It's been a long time, so they're not necessarily going to do that. But when you talk to them, you'll know if they've watched the stuff or not, because they're going to ask you questions about it.
Right.
So backing up just a little bit to her original question is when she meets with them, not word vomiting. I like to ask them what makes them want to, what do you know about Cincy? Why do you want to join? What have you heard? Let them tell you what they know. And then you can either debunk the misfacts that they may have. I heard you have to have $200 every month. No, you don't. You got to have it once every 12 months. Or I heard you have to do this. No. So that gives you a lead in to answer questions and give them info. And then you can slowly slide more in, and you're not word vomiting. You're the one answering the questions, letting them ask. Let them tell you what they know, because clearly if it's somebody who's interested in joining, they know a little something about Scentsy. And it may just be that we have great smelling wax, right? So that's, maybe even your opportunity to say, hey, but it's way more than just wax. There's so many opportunities and potentials here. So that'll give you that lead in. And then, once they join, then there's a whole nother world opens up. But that's what I would do with someone, because I've been there and done that and done the word vomit, and their eyes get like this big. And then they're like,
probably done that.
I'll get back with you. And they never get back with you.
Like, I'm going to run.
That's for the friendly ghost status here, right? Like, I mean, they're gone.
And be prepared for excuses, not really excuses, but like people will be like, but there's already so many people that sell it, or there's too many people in my area. Because people tell me that all the time. But here's what I tell them. There are a lot of consultants, but not all of them work their business, and not all of them take care of their customers.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And my thing is always, I tell people that, when I became a director, my sister-in-law was also a director. She was my sponsor, and she lived across the street from me. Like, I could throw a rock at her house right now, which the house that I rent across the street and use as my office is where she used to live. And we live in Pine Tops, population nothing, and murder capital of the world, according to Judith.
Murder.
Like, half of them get killed. No, but seriously, like, it's totally like, she and I had whole different networks, and we still, like, I still do events in the tiny town of Tarboro that people still have not heard of Scentsy. And like, I love when people tell me that everybody sells, because I would be like, probably word vomit. But
when they say everybody already sells, I'd be like, well, you don't.
Yeah, not you.
But not everybody.
When I first meet with people before they join, or if I'm texting with them or whatever, I always say, I usually let them ask me the questions too. I might say the basics, but I also always include in there the fact there are no hidden fees, and the fact that you literally do not have to spend any of your own money if you don't want to, besides your website, after 3 months. I leave it at that and make it short and sweet. And they're like, oh, okay. Because
honestly, they don't even have to do that. I mean,
they don't have to. Yeah. I'm like, that's an option. Yeah. But if you do, like, I'm like, if you do, it's a tax write-off, because I'm a hidden fees person. Like, I am a what's the catch person. Like, I always wanted to know before I started. The only reason I probably would have never joined under anybody else but my sister-in-law, because I trusted her. And I didn't even look at the compensation plan when I started. That did not matter to me at that point in time. It was, I don't have to like sell my right kidney or anything. Okay, good.
So a lot of people don't know this about me, but I actually am I am enrolled in 2 other direct sale companies. People don't know that. And the reason is one is a hobby, and the other one is because it's a lash serum. It's a lash serum that I buy through them.
Mhm.
Both of those, I have to pay a membership fee. One is yearly and another one is every month. The one that's a hobby, I'm about to get rid of because I haven't done in 6 months. And obviously, if I don't do it in a year, it's not good enough to keep as a hobby. So I'm going to let it go. But they literally charge me $30 a month just to be with them. And then the other one, of course, is the lash serum to make my lashes grow. That's why a lot of people are like, oh my God, your lashes are so long. That's why I'm with them. But I have to pay a fee with them every single year. And the girl always messages me every year and tells me, hey, are you ready to be a consultant? No, ma'am. I'm still with Scentsy. I'm just doing it for the discount because it's ridiculously expensive. But it's crazy because I have to pay a membership fee just to work for you. And I'm sorry, but Scentsy is $200 a year. They have really changed it because when I first started Scentsy, it was what, Sarah, 150? That was our minimum that we had to
every 3 months, I think.
It was 3 months.
Once every 3 months, yeah.
And then they changed it to 200 every 4 months, and now it's 200 a year.
Right.
Now, I just want to touch on that for a second, Brooke. I still teach 200 every 4 months to my people, and I say that, you know, Scentsy has said a year now, but we don't know if or when they'll change that. They did that for COVID. So I still try to encourage mine 200 every 4 months, especially if they're thinking about possibly leading a team eventually, because then in 4 months, you lose that team if you're not active. So I just say 200 every 4 months still, but let them know they do technically have a year. So when you keep hearing the 12 months, Brooke, I know that you and I have talked, and I keep saying 200 every 4 months with that 12-month leeway. So you can kind of explain that same way to her if she's thinking about, you know, the compensation plan and growing, just try to go ahead and get in that 4 months time frame. But they technically have been kind of gracious with that 12 months lately.
Y'all want to hear a funny story? There was a girl, she posted on this group page that I'm in. She thought she had to sell 2,000 every month to stay active.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That
Yeah.
would scare so many people
said-
away.
She said she was trying so hard every month, but she met it every month, and that's how she met annual sales for the year.
That's her heart.
Thought she had to.
Well, guess what? She knows how to do it now.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I might have to start telling people who join, you have to have
You come into boot camp.
Yeah.
I might have to.
Although I will say Brooke is killing that. She already did 2,000 her first month, and she's almost at 2,000 her second month. So
Girl,
Yeah, I was
Good
like,
girl.
who is this?
that paycheck was good, won't it?
yeah.
You have to sell
And
2,000.
remember, Brooke, people are not joining Scentsy, they're joining you. And with a smile as pretty as yours, because I flipped the screen till I could see. I don't know how someone could not. I mean, it's one of those be you, right?
Yeah.
Be yourself.
Absolutely.
Honestly, people can tell when you're not yourself. They can tell when you still, and we talked about this at our last training, they can tell when you steal other people's wording. Honestly, sometimes I'm that person because Tanya is the queen of emojis. How she comes up with emojis for every single wax bar, no idea. But guess what? Judith will copy and paste, change probably 3 words, and then paste that little
You
thing.
want me to tell you the secret of them wax bar emojis? You got to look at what's in that wax and search for them things until you find one that's in there.
Ma'am, that's too much for me. I'm just going.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna start blocking you from all my posts. It'll make you work. No, I'm just kidding.
But you know, people will know when it's not you.
Yeah.
And honestly,
Yeah.
the best thing I can say is, obviously, if she wants to join, she has researched Scentsy, because when I wanted to join Scentsy, I was between Scentsy and one other company. And I told the girls earlier today what that other company was.
Girl dodged a bullet for real.
Dodged a bullet, for real, for real.
Done that with that bullet, definitely dodged it.
Yeah. And I remember I texted Sarah and I said, hey, can you send me more info about Scentsy? And I think I want to go back to our messages, but I'm
I
pretty
probably word vomited because I was like, yeah.
sure you did. You word vomited. But guess what?
I was like, She was one of my
She really
first, like
did.
one of my,
She was
like
word
maybe the fourth person out.
She word vomited, but she was herself though, right?
Yes.
She didn't
was
send you
herself.
some scripted stuff.
Right.
No, I was
No,
just like,
yourself.
I'm so excited.
I know.
But that goes to tell you that word vomit is not necessarily horrible if you're being yourself. So don't be nervous when you talk to this chick, you know, give her the
Yeah.
information she needs, provide what you need. Don't be nervous if you think you're going to say too much or not enough, because if you're being yourself, she's going to pick up on that. So
And like
Girl,
Amy
and it's
said,
okay to tell her, hey, I'm just as nervous as you are today, so I don't want to scare you. But if I'm giving you too much, tell me. And if I'm not giving you enough, tell me. Don't be afraid to say that to her.
And
Yeah.
last thing I can say about that, let's look at the negative side, but not really the negative side. Let's say she doesn't join. First of all, that's okay. Because I'm a person that if they say no, it's okay, because I've had girls who have told me no, and guess what? 2 months later, I had a girl who told me she didn't want to join. She ended up joining the next day. She told me she was going to do the $20 kit. She did the $99 kit because it had more stuff that she could use.
That
And then
was-
she told me she was only going to join just to do a fundraiser for her church. And now she's telling me that she wants to join to actually sell it. And her husband is also taking it to work and selling it. Her kids are now going to be taking it to their teachers. So if she says no, that's okay. That's okay.
That's right. It's not ever a reflection on you. It's just where they're at.
and like Kimmy said, ask her, you know, what she wants. You know, initially your why is different than what it might be down the road. Because, all right, let's do this. Raise your hand if you joined Cincy in the beginning just because you wanted to earn some extra cash or, you know, get a little bit back from what you bought.
get back from what you bought. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
see that? How many of you still have that as your goal? Raise your hand. 4 out of the 5 of the leaders up here talking joined just to get a little bit of money. And now we're like, nope, I'm going all the way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sorry,
even
man.
though they might tell you they just want to get the discount or, you know, get a little bit of free stuff, that could change later. So find out what they want in the beginning. And then as they go, they'll develop into what they really want. And some of them may stay just as getting that discount. I have a girl on my team that's been on my team for 2 years, never had an active PWS because she's what we call a hobbyist. She stays, you know, she puts in enough to always be a consultant, but she doesn't sell to other people. She might put in an order for like family, I don't know, like with her bulk order, but she doesn't do parties and all that. And that's okay. That's what she wants out of it. And I don't pressure her to build a team. I have another girl that right now is over 500 PRV, but has no interest in sponsoring. And that's fine because she doesn't want to. And she knows that I'm okay with that. And she'll come to me when she's ready. So find out what that person is interested in to start off with Cincy. You don't have to go into the long term unless they want to.
Yeah. And you can always let them know, just to kind of wrap it up so we don't all word vomit, but you can always let them know that, you know, you can meet with her again to answer more questions about other stuff to help her learn as she goes. You know, that you just want to get through the initial, you know, Q&A that, you know, is trying to sway her one way or the other.
Because that's really what you're doing is just answering her questions and letting her understand the basics so that she can make a decision.
And
We're
when
all word vomiting.
and when she does join, I don't know if it's still the same, but when I joined, I literally got like 5 or 6 emails from Cincy, and I was like, what is all of this? And I got so overwhelmed. I tell everybody who joins my team, that's okay. Just focus on your first things first checklist. First things first is just log into your website. Do your first things first. And then after that, I'm here for you because I do what Sherry says. I'm there for them their first 70 days. Whatever they need, I'm there. After that, I slowly turn into spoon feeding. And then, all right, like kick them out the nest, which I'm waiting for Sarah to do for me.
Sarah, you need to kick her out tomorrow.
Yeah, you're not ever getting kicked out. I need you in the nest. No, but I think that like when you ask me for something, you've already looked at every single resource and you've already like literally it's always just something that you've tried to find. You're not like how much is a
Favorite
cent circle.
child. It's okay. I'm her favorite child. I get
I
it.
think we're all like that. We all try to find it, and if we can't, then we'll ask somebody else.
Yeah. and
Every
I think
once
that's
in a
good to
while,
ask.
I'll be at work and I like need to know something real quick, and I'll be like, "Hey, can somebody tell me this real quick? Because I can't remember because I'm at work and I can't really go look at the moment." But
Yeah.
To know how much a cent circle is. That's what I was talking about earlier.
See, Judith and I will always see that differently because somebody messaging me that's been on board for 2 years at 3 a.m. asking how much is a cent circle. In my eyes, is somebody asking me for some type of attention for some other reason, and they can't think of a valid one to say, hey, I need your help with something. So I see that one totally different, right? Because I would respond, girl, really? You know how much a cent circle is. Now what's going on?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that's true. I might have to start asking that. Yeah.
But you have to think about who the person is when they ask you the question.
Yeah.
Because there's one girl on my team that will like call and just, I got a question, and then she'll phone me for an hour about whatever. I ain't got time for all that. I got things to do. I'll talk to you for a
Stop
few minutes.
talking about me.
I'm not talking about you. I go to your house and talk to you. But let's be honest. Even when she calls, I don't want to answer the phone because I don't like talking on the telephone. Like, girl, you know better. Message me.
Yo,
You know,
what's
but-
Tanya's number? I'm gonna start calling her at like 2 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, do you know